Good morning, friends and comrades. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving Day and with friends and families and enjoyed that time. I know I did. I have an issue with sugar, so yeah, I jacked mine up a little bit. But other than that, everything went great. This morning, I'd like to talk about some things pertaining to what's going on new in the prison. If you have family members who are in this incredibly evil system, this is important what we're doing here, and you'll come to understand that a little later into this video. So what I'd like to touch on briefly this morning is the system itself. It's completely corrupt. There's, like I said in past videos, there's nothing judicial about it. They're all trust actions. They're all a way of fleecing the trust, abusing the trust in their fiduciary obligations. So the question is, what is the system? It's a system that's been developed over 150 years probably, and it's the way to fleece the trust and make the money. Like I said before, taxes aren't paying to keep these people in prison. They are, just like taxes aren't paying to give SNAP and EBT to hungry people in America. It's coming from the trust, and this is all fact. There's nothing can be questioned about it, and I would challenge anyone to investigate that. Try to prove me wrong, because when you do, you'll be proving me right. So the system is incredibly evil and dark. This world belongs to Satan or Satan or whatever you wish to call him. It's corrupt. It's completely evil. And the sad thing is 80%, at least 80% of people in America believe that they can control all this with politics and voting on the right politician. And no, they're all corrupt. They're all corrupt. I know some people would, beg to differ, but they are. If they're not, they will be when they get in there. The last thing I ever want to hear is a politician coming up to me and going, hey, I'm running for such and such a position in the government. Would you vote for me? I'm a Christian. You're the first person not going to get a vote from me, because you're either lying or you will be. Corruption has power has a way of corrupting people that way. And people can't even see that's what they're doing. They're just enforcing these corrupt politicians when we need to be correcting them. They're public servants. Another part is the top 1% control the other 99. It's the rich, it's the money. The root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. And evil's using that to crush the little man. They raised the minimum wage in most places to $15 an hour, and look at the price of everything else. How's the people on Social Security? Where's theirs? Where's their raise? They're going to starve. They're going to starve. It's hard enough for them to pay for their own medication and eat too. So, but that's a whole another video right there. We're no longer under a Republican form of government. We haven't been in, a long, long time. A Republican form of government is where the vote counts. And everybody has a say in what goes on. what we are now is a corporate oligarchy, a democracy. That's what a democracy is. It's a republic is a government that's ran by the people, and a democracy is an oligarchy, and an oligarchy is a government that's ran by a group of people. So we're in this. We're not under a constitutional republic anymore. We haven't been for a long time. It's their municipal corporate. They're all under the municipal corporation known as the District of Columbia. The courts are no longer constitutional. They haven't been constitutional courts in 150 years or better. Even more than that. They're, like I said in the past videos, they're tribunals. They're legislative executive tribunals that enforce commerce. That corporation's bankrupt. It's bankrupt. We, as the trust, can file bankruptcy every 7 years. The corporations, like the United States, can only file every 70 years. So 70 years, about the time of the Civil War, the bankruptcy came due. The corporation, the corporation known as the District of Columbia, is incorporated in England. We didn't win the Revolutionary War, so to speak. They just said, you know what, okay, we won't keep the land, we'll let them run their own country the way they see fit, but as far as the corporation's concerned, it belongs to us. And we actually borrowed money from England after the Revolutionary War. We borrowed money from England, and that put us back in servitude under the crown. And every 70 years, we've filed bankruptcy. If you think of the time from the Revolutionary War approximately to the Civil War, 70 years. From the Civil War to 1933, 70 years. We went into bankruptcy. We're in our third bankruptcy. We just keep going bankrupt. In 1933, we went bankrupt. And all so-called crimes are, in fact, strictly a commercial matter. And that, as it's stated in 27 CFR 72.11, CFR, for anybody that doesn't know what that is, it's Code of Federal Regulations. It actually says in that 27 CFR 72.11 that all crimes are commercial matters. They're all commerce. They're all commercial courts. Ever since June the 5th, 1933, the United States became bankrupt, and the passing of House Joint Resolution 192 created a public law, or Public Law 73-10, which basically states that everything must be paid for by the government. This is a historical or irrefutable act. It's time to wake up, brothers. It's time to wake up. There is no remedy through the so-called courts. I see a lot of people on here, these sovereign legal gurus, take my class and I'll show you how to beat these guys. And, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They're going to change on you so quick, it'll make your head spin. The reason that the so-called judge forced me out of the court 3 times in 20 minutes was so she could change the jurisdiction. Every time she puts me out, she brings me back in. That's a different change, a different change of jurisdiction. And all times I'm going, hey man, it's this is the challenge of jurisdiction. That's why it wasn't that I called her a whore of Babylon, cussed her out and called her a whore of Babylon. It's because she realized the third time that there's no way that I'm going to stand there without challenging the jurisdiction, put him on the bus, get him out of here. This isn't working. So later on during the trial, they have another arraignment, and they're asking these boneheaded lawyers, usurpers, how does your client plead? So they don't. It's all commercial, man, and you can't even pay it. You cannot even pay it. They say court costs, fines, and fees. You can't pay that. The government has to. It says it right. It says it plain as day, man. You guys can look all this stuff up if you'd like. You can't find remedy through the court. It's not going to happen. You'll go in there and you'll argue. These guys, I see it all the time. They're trying to do this and want you to join their class and pay a fee or whatever. I don't do that. I don't need to do that. I consider that a patriot for hire, but that's another thing. They'll do their own. You do your own thing. If you want to join these things, go ahead. You may learn something. I'm not telling you that these guys aren't worth whatever it is they're charging. You may actually learn something, and what's money anyway? It's fiat. It's fiat currency. So don't get stuck on the money. Where you can find remedy at, and where we are finding remedy at, is it can be found through the tax forms. These lien securities that we created and sent to the Treasury, and that's where we're finding remedy in our particular situation. And one of those is the 1040. Pretty much everybody's familiar with the 1040, and the 1040 form is Office of Management and Budget, or OMB. The OMB number is 1545-0074, and that's the Office of Management and Budget. Those are the forms that the federal government. That's the budget office, and how finances are managed in the corporate United States, okay? So what happens is, and this is what we're doing in the prison, we just recently kicked this off over the last 4 months, and the remedy is on its way. And I'll get to that in just a minute, but when you go and they bring you into the arena, and they say, we're going to set this bond at $5,000, okay? What they're going to do is they're going to create an appearance bond. Okay, we'll let you out. It's a $5,000 bond. Come up with $500 and give it to the bondsman, and we'll release you. Here, sign the bond. What you're doing is you're understanding or underwriting the bond. Here, sign the bond. As the representative, because most everybody doesn't know that you sign with a beneficiary signature if you're going to sign any kind of bond at all. Tell them, hey, I don't want to sign the bond. You're not getting out. You will not get out. They will hold you in there. They're trying to get you to sign that bond so they can make the money. And that's an appearance bond, okay? And then there's bonds that you're not going to be familiar with unless you've done a lot of deep research. And those bonds are the 3 bonds that are created based on the appearance bond. And they're called prison or penal bonds. Each one is valued at $2 million per charge. Okay, there's they're called the bid bond. And in the Office of Management and Budget, you can find that at CF24. There's the performance bond, which is CF25. And the payment bond, which is CF25A, okay? These are all bonds that you can go to the OMB, their website, and get copies of them, download and print them off so you can look at them and read them. And then the next three bonds, and they all have the same OMB numbers. Or the three bonds with the OMB, the same OMB numbers, are what's called the Miller Act bonds. Okay, you can Google this. Okay, and they are CF 273, CF 274, and CF 275. So think about that. Each of these bonds issued would constitute a so-called roll. So the total sum of all these penal bonds could be three or six times $2 million times number of counts. Okay, like for instance, mine, the 40. I'm saying mine, but I know they're really the trust bonds, because they're created on the Social Security account. You've heard me say they create bonds and then they sell them at a discount rate. These are those, okay? So those bonds that are created against the trust, in my so-called case, they created 6 bonds per charge at 42 counts, okay? Yeah, man, at $2 million a whack. That's $504 million in bonds that are created. Yeah. Like I said, then they sell them on the open market at a discounted rate. All these bonds are 1099 OID eligible issues. Original issue discount is what the OID stands for. The 1099 OID taxes the eligibility issues back to the source. Okay. The 1099 OID taxes the eligible issues back to the source. Okay. That means when you file that OID, those bonds go back to where they were created, i.e. the so-called court. Now they are responsible for those. The 1040, the 1040V, and the 1040X all establish the title to the eligible issues. So, by taking these tax documents and filing these bonds, what you're doing is you're sending the bonds back to where they got started from, and now they're responsible. Okay? The prosecutor in a case has to bring his checkbook to the courtroom, because if he loses in that arraignment phase where the bonds are initiated from, he's responsible to pay for those bonds, the filing fees and all that. So, I was reading a post on Facebook there where they were talking about, they win 99.9% of the time. That's because they've got to. If they don't, they're going to be liable for those bonds that they created. So, so here's what we're doing. we're using the Freedom of Information Act. This is what's going on. What I kind of, I have a lot of my homies from prison, you know, they pay $5 to talk to me for half an hour. They'll call the house, you know, and they'll go, hey, homie, this is what we're, you know, going on. Sometimes they'll call me from the block. The block is the cell phone, you know, that they're not supposed to have. So they'll call me from the block. Hey, I'm calling from the block, man. That means you're free to say whatever you want to say. And stuff that we don't want the man to know, because they're recording all these conversations. When you call from a prison phone, they're recording them. So you got to be real careful about what you say. And a lot of you people that out there that have family or friends that are in prison are already aware of this. They say it on the recording before you even accept the phone call. You know, we're recording this. So they're real careful about what they say. A lot of stuff is correspondence through the mail, and they'll seal an envelope. They don't read your mail coming out of the prison, but they will open it up and read it going in. So we've established a system, and they call and they write and they ask questions, and we got this rolling. We got the IRS sending tax documents straight to the prison, right to the inmates, and they're doing this. They're filing on these bonds. It takes a little time because you got to go through the process to get the bond numbers. We're using the Freedom of Information Act to get the bond numbers, and then once you get the bond numbers, you attach them to these tax documents. And they're discharging the debt from the bonds. You know, they're taking these bonds and going, hey, man, you know, here, they're paid. You're being held in prison because of the bonds. A lot of times when these bonds are created, the bonds will mature in 1129. Are any of y'all out there familiar with 1129 means? That's 1 day less than a year. And a lot of times that's what you get for misdemeanors. You're going to get time served and 1129 probation. Why? Because they want you on probation till the bonds mature. Once they mature, money's made. This is what they're doing, folks. This is what they're doing. And that's what we're doing. We're going in there and we're saying, you know, here I am, the authorized representative filing with the 1040s, and you know, here's the tax documents based on these bonds. Here's the bond number. You know, and not only that, these prosecutors and these judges and these bailiffs, they all have bonds. They all have their own bond number that insures them or financially vests them into the jobs that they're doing to screw the people. So that's where this is at, and that's where we're going with this. And once the bonds are, once this works, and I should know within the next month or so, maybe two, maybe shortly after the first of the year, about, you know, how this is working. Once the bonds are discharged, they can't hold the prisoners any longer, because you're being held as a security for those bonds. Like I said in the last video, or the one before that, you know, it's not the human that's held. It's the trust that's held. It's the trust that was charged. It was the trust that's sentenced. It's the trust that's doing time. It's your trust that works the job. It's your trust that owns the house. It's your trust that has the car. It's your trust that gets the check to put into the checkings account. This is all trust action stuff. That's where this is going, my friends. And once the bonds are settled, they have to discharge. Once the bonds are discharged, the individuals have to be discharged, or the human has to be discharged. So that's what we're working on. And also, my friends that are doing this could potentially get the money from the bonds. putting it into the tax, getting it as a tax return. All right, friends. Thanks for hanging out, man. Peace, y'all.